Here it is. I can't believe I'm finally sitting down to record this. The One's Justice 2 prediction list. I've been promising this since the game was initially announced, but we're finally doing it. Let's get into it because there's a lot to cover and we want to get through it as quickly as possible. Obviously, this goes without saying, spoilers are ahead. But since I know some of you are going to stay anyway and you still don't want spoilers, I'm going to try my hardest to not talk about specifics. So here is the currently announced One's Justice 2 roster. This is not the character select screen, but it is laid out in the same way as the character select screen. Looking at this, and according to the One's Justice 2 website, we have 10 character slots that we have to fill in. Firstly, it's important to establish that every character Byking Studio chooses to add needs to be important for the story, with the slight exception of Mina and Mineta, who were both highly requested characters, and they probably got in on merit alone, as opposed to any story relevance. Everyone else announced so far plays a key role in the story. Another important thing to understand is that the character select screen is perfectly symmetrical so far, and it was also symmetrical in the previous game. What do I mean by symmetrical? Well, on one side of the roster we have the good guys, and on the other side we have the bad guys. Furthermore, if we break up these characters into separate categories, we can see that there's even more information we can gather, like this. Now, I know this looks like way too much information, but it's not. The blue characters are the good guys, and the red characters are still the bad guys, with slightly different shades of blue and red to draw divisions. For example, the big three are grouped together at the top left, so I have them slightly in a darker shade of blue, and in the center we have a completely different shade of blue again, because I think practically any important character could make it into that center row. So that should be fairly simple to understand, right? It's blue equals good, red equals bad. Well, this bottom group of characters is a little more complicated, so we're going to require some more colors, so I apologize because I know this might be overwhelming to look at for the first time, but follow me along really quickly. I know, it's a lot. The green characters are heavily connected to All Might, the purple characters are pro heroes, and the orange characters are characters who are specifically connected to the license exam arc. I do think the license exam arc will play a big role in the story because it kind of has to. I'm expecting the game to finish right after the Overhaul arc, in the same way that the first game ended directly after the All for One arc, even though that wasn't the end of Season 3, and even though Overhaul won't be the end of Season 4. If that's the case, in the game we're going to need to do something before the Overhaul arc, and based on some of the stages that we've seen so far, and based on some of the customization we've seen so far, I think it's fair to say that this game is probably going to cover the license exam arc, Bakugo versus Deku, and probably Deku and Bakugo versus All Might for like the tutorial mission. Alright, let's fill in some of these colors so we can start predicting stuff. At the top right hand corner, I think we're going to get two characters directly connected to Overhaul and the Yakuza. I also think we're going to get at least one more League of Villain rep right here. I think we're going to get two more characters connected to the license exam arc right next to Inasa. And lastly, I think the entire bottom row will be pro heroes. I'm aware that there are two squares that I've left blank. Don't worry, we will get to them in the future. They're just a little bit more complicated for right now. But let's actually start picking some characters. Starting with our League of Villain character, Twice. He's almost required for the game. He was heavily requested in the first one, and he's involved in the Overhaul arc. I would be shocked to see he's not in the game. Speaking of characters involved in the Overhaul arc, we need Fat Gum and we need Rapper. Or Rapper? I don't know, I've never heard it spoken before. I've only seen it written on a page. Both of these characters need to be in for obvious reasons. For the license exam arc, we need Gang Orca for the Shoto Todoroki, Deku, and Inasa fight. We also need Inasa's teammate who fights with his own skin, Saiji Shishikura. In fact, we've already seen the stage from that fight in the game, so that one's all but confirmed for me. These 5 characters that we've talked about so far, I would consider them very likely, like almost locked in, like very safe predictions. But that's only half of our job done. We still have to get the second half of the roster. Now, it gets a little more complicated from here, but let's finish up the license exam arc. Yoshindo is one of my less confident picks, but I think he'll be used to tell the first half of the license exam story, the part where UA gets jumped by all the other schools. For the pro hero slot, I do think we're going to get Night Eye. I don't want to spend too long talking about this one because it's huge spoilers, so we're just going to move on. Now we have the last Overhaul character right next to Rapper. I think this could go to one of two characters. One possibility is another version of Overhaul himself, which wouldn't shock me, but I don't think you would need that character on the base roster to tell the story. You can probably just do it with a cutscene, or it could be a boss version of the character that is not playable. Yeah, I certainly don't think you need another version of Overhaul. Alternatively, I think it's going to be another member of the Yakuza. It almost has to be because of the way that the roster is laid out. And my best guess would be Chrono. He almost acts as a right-hand man, so Chrono I think is a solid pick. He also has a little tussle with Aizawa that you could use in the story mode. Alright, now we have our final 2 slots, I would consider these the hardest slots to predict. This spot next to the League of Villains is very difficult to me because it could either be a League of Villain rep or it could be a license exam rep because of the way that it's laid out. Specifically, I think the best guesses are either Cammy or my personal prediction is Mr. Compress. Cammy I don't think is required to tell the license exam arc at all. If the developers really want to use the Deku versus Cammy encounter, they could make a model for Cammy and then just give her Toga's moveset, just for the story mode, of course. And then if they really want Cammy to be a playable character, like actually Cammy, not Toga, they could easily sell that as a DLC character because they're already going to have that model made. But of course, that assumes that they're going to want to use Cammy versus Deku anyway. Maybe they're just going to skip over it. In fact, that's my best guess. I think they're just going to skip it. Lastly, the final slot, the character that delayed this video for nearly 3 days. This spot was so annoying for me to guess because when I first saw it, I thought, oh, obviously it's a UA student because it's on the far left, it's right next to all the other UA students, perfect. But if it was another UA rep, like Sero, for example, why not reveal him with Mineta and Mina? I think if this character is going to be a UA student, it will be someone unique in UA. Somebody who's not just a standard Class 1A rep, maybe a Class B rep, maybe somebody outside of the hero course like Mei or Shinso, but none of those characters really have an important role in the overhaul arc. But then it hit me. I don't think this character has a connection directly to the characters above them. I think the connection is going to be with the corners of the character select screen. Assuming that my picks are correct so far, or at least the categories that I have them in are correct, the top left, the top right, and the bottom right are all in simple groups of 3. If that's the case, there are only 2 characters I could see fitting into this group of Gran Torino and Deku. One is Night Eye. Now, I know I already have Night Eye on the bottom of the roster, and if we do find out that Night Eye is the character who should be in this kind of group of 3, I would then replace Night Eye's position with Midnight, who is still a pro hero, and actually kind of plays a role in the story that is about to be told in Once Justice 2. She does have a fight with Mineta, but I don't think that's what's happening here. So let's move Night Eye back to where he was. The character that I truly think is right here next to Deku in this group of Deku and Gran Torino is another version of Deku, specifically Deku and Eri. There it is, my Once Justice 2 prediction list. For the bottom left-hand corner character, I ended up settling on Deku and Eri because of the positioning of Shigaraki, actually. The 2 versions of the character are horizontally aligned as opposed to vertically, so if there was going to be another version of Deku in the game, which I do think is fairly likely, he would have to be right there on the character select screen. This prediction list changed a lot over a week. This looked very different a week ago, but I'm pretty happy with where it is right now. That was a lot of My Hero Academia to talk about. I am so ready for this game. I'm gonna keep kind of like a bingo sheet and see how accurate I am. Yeah, I'm excited, man. I want to see more of these reveals. I hope you're excited as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. Of course, I'd very much appreciate a like. These types of videos take way longer than normal videos, so always very appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Bilbzy, and I'll be sure to see you in the next one.